The book is now sold out everywhere. You can't find it,
That's
which is
good.
great. So we got
that.
Horse Soldiers, 12 strong. When did you first become aware of this story?
It was submitted to us about 8 years ago. I think it was in galleys when we got it. We fell in love with it. We loved the verisimilitude of it, a true story about these young men and went into combat knowing nothing about what they were about to encounter, the fact that there were $100,000 bounties on their head. They were meeting with a warlord they knew nothing about. They didn't have enough batteries for their radios. They had to go out to Walmart and buy batteries. They had to get warm weather clothing because it wasn't around. So, I mean, they went into a very difficult situation. They get there and they find out that there's no vehicles. They have to actually ride on horseback. Only one of them had actually was accomplished horse riders. So they had a quick lesson on jumping on horses. They were all sore and in bad shape. But listen, they accomplished their mission. They drove the Taliban out in 3 weeks. It's a great heroic story, and I'm glad we got to bring it to the screen.
When you do this kind of a movie, and you've done wonderful true stories before, there's a big responsibility. How do you know when you get it right?
Well, it comes down to our writers. I mean, Doug was very involved, Doug Stanton, who knew all the men. We actually had some of them work on the story with us. They visit the set. The actual guy who played Chris Hemsworth and Michael Shannon were actually around. So that was great. They were great inspiration to the actors when they were there. And the fact that these men went through it and the actors got to talk to them and talk how they felt and what they were doing, it certainly added to their character.
The set had to be crazy.
Right.
Horses, dirt, sand, wind, things blowing up.
Right.
What described the feeling on the set?
Well, it was cold. It was New Mexico, which is tough. We were in tough areas in New Mexico. We were in the mountains. We were in caves. It was very challenging for us. But when the real soldiers came there and visited us, Mark came there and said, "This reminds me of where we were in Afghanistan." It looked so real to them.
We've talked before about your career, of course, but you've been making movies now for more than 50 years.
Right.
And you're dealing with a lot of young kids. I call them kids.
Right.
The new generation.
Sure.
Is the new generation of filmmakers different?
No. They want to tell good stories. The technology's advanced a lot. So that helps us in telling us. But it's always the same. You got to get a good story. You got to get good material. This is great material. And we have to have great screenwriters to work on this material. And also you have to get a great director. And if you don't have wonderful actors in front of the camera, you're dead. So you got to tell, it's always about the story. And this was a great, great book.
Nikolai wasn't, or isn't, doesn't have a lot of work behind him.
Right.
Why did you go with him?
Well, we looked at his commercial work. He certainly was an adventurous man. He went into Haiti when there was I guess an earthquake or floods there, and got a friend out. He was a documentary filmmaker. He was in the military. So he was somebody who understood the story, gave a great presentation to us, and he's a visual artist, and I love working with visual artists.
This is visual. Very, very visual.
Right.
And of course, now Chris Hemsworth, we all know him as Thor. So, but this is a serious role for him.
I think it's a good choice. I think it shows different sides of Chris as an actor. He's a brilliant actor, and I'm glad people around the world to get him to see him play something a little different than what he normally plays.
And of course, Rob Riggle, comedian and former Marine. So what about him?
Oh, it's great to put somebody in there who actually was working in the military at the time that this event actually happened.
Is this the kind of movie that can change people's perspective on things?
I think so. I think it shows professionalism of our soldiers and the fact that the things they have to give up with their families. And when they go overseas, they have no idea if they're coming back or not. Their wives don't know nothing about it. Their children know nothing about it. It's great Americans who go out there and protect our freedom.
Do you think we should have been told about this sooner?
No. I think that the fact that they keep these things under wrap for a reason. And fortunately, they declassified it.
What has motivated you to be so involved with the military? You have such a great relationship. It seems like they will do whatever it takes to make a Jerry Bruckheimer movie.
Well, I really respect them. For all the reasons, the fact that they go out there and risk their lives to protect our homes and our families, and they give up some of their family lives and their own safety and danger to go out to strange lands and protect our way of life.
I have the real guys, the Chris and the Michael Shannon characters, coming to headquarters next week. So what should I ask them? What do we need to talk to them about?
I would ask them how difficult it was. I would say, tell me about your feelings when you went over there, when you met Dostum, and tell me what your men were thinking, and how difficult was the terrain, how realistic is the movie.
Is there any movie that you've made that you feel, I mean, I know every movie you make is going to be wonderful, but something that just that you're just like, you know what, I'm really proud of this one.
You know what? They're all your kids. You can't, I'm proud of every one of them, the ones that didn't do well at the box office, the ones that were huge hits. They're a part of your life. There's something, it's like going to summer camp. You have great experiences making these movies, and sometimes they bring the audience in, and sometimes they don't, but they're all wonderful experiences.